The rain hit the windshield so hard it sounded like gravel. I kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other clenched, so tightly around my phone that my knuckles hurt. 3 missed calls from Mia. 2 texts that made no sense. Please answer. I messed up. I don't know where to go. By the time I reached the restaurant downtown, people were already spilling onto the sidewalks beneath umbrellas and neon lights. Friday night laughter floated through the cold air, careless and loud. But near the curb, sitting alone on a wet bench with mascara streaked down her face, was Mia. My best friend looked broken. Not sad, not embarrassed. Broken. I parked illegally and rushed toward her. Mia. She looked up slowly, her eyes swollen and red. The second she saw me, her lips trembled. "Oh my God," she whispered, trying to laugh through tears. "You actually came." "Of course I came." I shrugged off my jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. She was freezing. Her hands shook as she held the edges close to her chest. "What happened?" Her expression collapsed. "He proposed to her." For a second I thought I heard her wrong. "What?" Mia stared down at the pavement. "In front of everyone." The words settled into me like ice water. Her ex-boyfriend, Tyler, the same guy who spent 4 years telling her he wasn't ready for marriage. The same man who drained the light out of her, little by little until she started apologizing for existing too loudly. And tonight, apparently, he got engaged to the girl he told me not to worry about. She said with a hollow laugh. Classic, right? I sat beside her without speaking. She swallowed hard. He invited me there because he said he wanted closure. Can you believe that? Closure. Her voice cracked. I walked in and everybody was filming. There were flowers everywhere. Then he got down on one knee for her while people stared at me like I was some pathetic side character. Anger burned through my chest so fast I had to look away. Mia. She looked at me while he proposed. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She smiled at me. I wanted to say something comforting, something smart. But there are moments in life where pain is too humiliating for polished words. So instead I stood up and held my hand out. Come home with me. She hesitated. I don't want to be a burden. You could never be a burden. Her eyes met mine for a moment too long before she looked away again. That should have been my first warning. The drive back was quiet, except for the rain. Mia curled against the passenger seat, still wearing heels that looked painful enough to be punishment. I turned the heat higher. You hungry? I asked softly. No. You lying? A little. That earned the tiniest smile from her. We stopped at a 24-hour diner outside town, the kind with flickering lights and coffee that tasted burnt no matter what time you ordered it. Mia sat across from me in my hoodie, while steam rose from a bowl of soup between her hands. For the first time all night, color slowly returned to her face. I'm sorry, she murmured. For what? For ruining your Friday. I leaned back in the booth. Mia, 2 years ago I called you crying because I got fired and thought my life was over. You were dramatic. You drove 3 hours at midnight with gas station donuts. They were fresh. They were terrible. She laughed quietly. There it was again, that tiny crack in the sadness where her real self still lived. Then her smile faded. I really loved him. I looked down at my coffee. I know. That's the worst part. She shook her head slowly. Everyone thinks I'm crying because I lost him. But I'm crying because I wasted so much love on someone who enjoyed hurting me. I felt that sentence somewhere deep. Mia had always loved completely. Recklessly. Like she believed people would automatically protect what she gave them. The world doesn't reward people like that. It eats them alive. You know what he said to me before I left? She whispered. I shook my head. He said maybe now I could finally move on. I gripped my cup so hard it almost cracked. Forget him. I'm trying. No, I said more firmly this time. Forget him. She stared at me, surprised by the edge in my voice. Then softly, almost vulnerable, she asked, why do you sound angrier than I do? Because I've been in love with you for 3 years. But I couldn't say that. Not tonight. So instead I looked out the window and lied. Because he's an idiot. When we got to my apartment, the lights in the kitchen were still on. My mother was awake. The second she opened the door and saw Mia's face, her entire expression changed. Oh, sweetheart. Mia broke instantly. My mom pulled her into a hug without asking questions, and Mia started crying into her shoulder, like a child who had finally gotten too tired to pretend she was okay. I looked away to give her dignity. An hour later, Mia sat wrapped in blankets on the couch while my mom made tea. The apartment smelled like cinnamon and chamomile. Safe. That's what it smelled like. Safe. I sat beside Mia while she stared blankly at the television. without actually watching it. You can stay as long as you want, I told her. I'll leave tomorrow. You don't have to. I don't want to ruin your routine. I almost laughed. Mia had no idea she already was my routine. Every morning text, every random phone call, every coffee shop conversation, every stupid meme she sent at 2 a.m. My days had quietly shaped themselves around her a long time ago. You're not ruining anything, I said quietly. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and something unspoken passed between us before my mom returned with tea. Later that night, I gave Mia my bedroom and took the couch. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up to soft footsteps. Mia stood in the hallway wearing one of my old t-shirts. Her eyes were puffy from crying again. Sorry, she whispered.
Did I wake you?
No, you okay? She shook her head. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she said the smallest, saddest thing I'd ever heard. I forgot what it feels like to be loved. The air left my lungs, not because it was dramatic, because she meant it. I sat up slowly. Come here. She walked over hesitantly, and I lifted the blanket so she could sit beside me. Not touching, just close. I think, I said carefully. Sometimes when people hurt us long enough, we start confusing love with survival. Mia stared ahead silently. You spent years trying to earn kindness from someone who should have given it freely. A tear slid down her cheek. You know what the scary part is? She whispered. If he called me right now, part of me would still go. That part of you isn't weak. Then what is it? Hope. Her face crumpled again, and before I could think better of it, I reached over and wiped away a tear with my thumb. She froze. So did I. The room suddenly felt too quiet. Too small. Mia. She looked at me like she was searching for something. Then very softly she asked, Why are you always there for me? Because I love you. Again the truth rose to my throat. Again fear strangled it. Because you're my best friend. The words sounded wrong the second they left my mouth. Her expression shifted almost invisibly. Not disappointment exactly, but something close. She nodded slowly and looked away. I hated myself instantly. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the apartment windows. I woke up to voices in the kitchen. Mia and my mother. He talks about you constantly, my mom was saying. I froze. He does? Mia asked quietly. All she talks about is you. My mother corrected herself with a laugh. Every story somehow becomes about Mia. Heat climbed up my neck. Makes sense, though, my mom continued gently. I haven't seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Silence. Long silence. Then Mia spoke so softly I barely heard it. I thought maybe I imagined it. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I stepped into the kitchen before I lost my nerve completely. Both of them looked at me. My mother smiled like she knew exactly what she'd done and grabbed her coffee. I suddenly remembered I have absolutely nothing to do outside. She announced before disappearing onto the balcony. Traitor. Mia looked down at the mug in her hands. You talk about me a lot. I rubbed the back of my neck awkwardly. Apparently. A tiny smile appeared, then faded. You should have told me. I didn't want to take advantage of you. Her brows furrowed. What? You were hurting and I exhaled shakily. I didn't want to become another person asking for something from you when you were already falling apart. Mia's eyes filled again, but differently this time. Not heartbreak. Something warmer. You idiot, she whispered. I blinked. Excuse me? She stood up slowly and walked toward me. You really think loving me would have been taking advantage of me? I didn't know if you felt the same. So instead you suffered quietly for years? When you say it out loud, it sounds unhealthy. She laughed through tears. Then she shook her head in disbelief. Tyler spent 4 years making me feel hard to love. Her voice cracked. And you spent 3 years loving me without asking for anything back. Emotion lodged painfully in my chest. Mia, you know what changed everything last night? I swallowed hard. What? She stepped closer. You looked at me like I was worth protecting. The room disappeared. All the noise in my head, all the fear, gone. There was only her. I have loved you, I admitted quietly. For a really long time. She stared at me for one fragile second before reaching for my hand, and somehow that simple touch felt more intimate than anything else ever could. You want to know something embarrassing? She whispered. What? You're all I talked about too. I laughed softly, mostly because if I didn't, I might have cried. Then she kissed me. Not dramatically, not like the movies. It was gentle, careful, like two people, finally putting down years of fear at the exact same time. And for the first time since I picked her up in the rain, Mia smiled without sadness hiding behind it. Outside, the storm had finally passed. And inside my tiny apartment, two people who thought love had abandoned them realized it. Had quietly been waiting there all along,